Hey there, YouTube land. Big Dave here. So I had some time this morning and I figured I'm going to make another video and talk about the two rods and the reels that I'm using right now for fall 2021 to do my local fishing, because it's a little bit different than if I'm going in the river. I'm going to use other equipment, but this is what I'm carrying around with me. Some people call it EDC. I just call it the stuff that I'm carrying around with me. So if I'm there at the near the waters that I go to, I can just pop out, pull my truck over, and run out for a half hour, check some stuff out, and go on my way. I don't always plan out my fishing. Sometimes it's more spontaneous. But as a general rule, I go out like after 3 o'clock in the afternoon is my fishing time. That runs me into, depending on the season, the time when I want to fish. Sometimes I go a little bit later so I could be there as the sun is coming down. But in the fall, now it gets dark earlier. So, and we're already into October. So, like if I go out like 3:30, closer to 4 o'clock, and I might stay out for like 2 hours, I'll catch the light and the feeding activity that I want, and have a chance of finding some fish around. You might not think that the time of day is that important when you go fishing, but it is. Some people like to fish early in the morning, and I don't. I'm not like an early morning person, so that would be forget it for me. And the middle of the day, if it's cloudy, it could be okay. But if it's sunny and bright out, it may not be that great. Anyway, so let's get on to the what I'm using right now. And the two rods are the same. So these are having a hard time getting them apart. They're stuck together. The two rods are the same. And this is a bit of a change from what I was using quite a bit when I did go out during the summer, because it was just too hot and humid and I was not in the mood. It was just like not that great. Plus we weren't catching fish, it was like oppressive. So this rod is nothing new. I don't know how old this has already been around. One of my trusty 6.5 foot ugly sticks, medium action. And I would say the tip on this is flexible, where the other tip that I use on my 7-foot medium one piece is definitely more stiff at the, like here. So this one has more play in the top, definitely. And also it has a little bit less control if you're going to be fishing around the mats and stuff. But right about now, those mats are diminishing. They're going away. So in the summer, I would not be using this rod. I just wouldn't. I want one that's heavier, because there's a lot of greenery and there's all you name it, it's there. Large lily pads, all kinds of big weeds sticking out, and I need to have some backbone on that rod to even control a better fish if I get one. This is not going to do it. They're going to come off. They're going to bounce around. But in the fall, now that stuff is going away. And I also might be going to some waters where they stock the trout. So I don't want those heavier rods. So I sometimes go to this next lighter equipment, or what I call lighter. So that's what I'm using, these 6.5 foot. And this has a Penn 3000. Is it a Battle 2? I don't even know. Yeah, there it is. It's a battle too. I've had this a couple of years. It's done really well. The only thing I've done to it is take it apart and put some new lube, grease or whatever inside, so that it's freshened up. And I'll take this off, clean it, put a little oil in it. You got to clean your reels. You got to rinse them out and change up the oil that's in them, just like your car. I don't know. You see, I think not always people think that's important. And I know I make other videos showing some of those reels, you take them apart. But it's just like your car. You got to rinse it out, get the junk out. And the gears need to be clear. Because those gears, after a while, they get tied up with stuff. Even the reel is sealed. And that microscopic junk from the water and other stuff, especially if you're in silty water, like brackish water and a river, that microscopic stuff that you can hardly see, it works its way down into the reel, and it deteriorates. Either it rusts or makes trouble on the inside. So it may not happen right away, but all of a sudden you'll take a sealed reel that's supposed to be sealed with those rings and everything. You open it up and you find rust. And you're like, well, why is there rust in this reel? And it's because of that stuff that you really can't see. You'd have to use a high magnification or a microscope to see some of it. But that goes down the shaft of the spinner and works its way in there. And then, so here's some blasphemy if you follow some of my other videos. I'm using, this is the Z03 that I've had for a number of years. This is not my favorite reel. But I went in the closet a few weeks ago to get my stuff. And I said, oh, I put fresh line on this, which is 8-pound line. And I said, okay, let's give it a try and see how we do. I've used this in the past. For some things, it's great. Other stuff, I felt like I was getting aggravated with it. So right now, I'm using this. So when I'm in the weeds, because the weeds where I go can be very tall, and it's very challenging to use the spinning reel in those weeds because it binds, it catches around, and next thing you know, you're winding up weeds. So as long as it's open, that spinning reel is fine. But once I get into those weeds that are all around, then I go to the closed reel. And I'm using 8-pound line because it casts super far with no weight. So here's a yum worm. And you know what? This might not be the yum worm. This might be a Berkeley Power worm. I'm not sure now. But no, I think this is the yum. And I'm just using on this one because of the way I'm using this setup. This is just a small 1/0 straight bass hook. Okay, whereas on my other one, I'm using 4/0 wide gap and a different worm, plus a little bit of weight. I have 1 or 2 split shots in front of the worm so that I can get that up and down action. This casts really far though with the 8-pound line. The only thing is, like I talked about in the beginning, right now the green stuff is diminishing. So there's more clear area where I am. Because that 8-pound line, if you're going to be in any kind of cover and stuff, you're probably going to snap off if you get a fish of any size. So you get a 2-3 pound bass and get some slop, you're going to break off. So this other rod would be the one I would use if there's still mat and cover around. That has 20-pound braid on it. And by the way, on this one, when I tie my worm, and there's no worm on here right now because I was doing some other stuff, so I put this little spinner on here. there was some other activity the last time I was out. And I just tried this little spinner. I don't use these too much. So this is not one of my big go-to baits. And but I put this on so that I could try something out. But I still did not connect with what was happening around there. So I didn't catch those weird fish that were around. Anyway, so the worm on there, I'm going to get some of this glare out of here. The worm that's on there, I put a couple split shots, one split shot or maybe two, just so I can get the action of it. If I pull up, it goes like this, it goes down, it falls, the tail follows it. Because that down and up at the bottom of a small water, it matters. And that might matter more than actually whatever you're using. It's the action, and that will attract the fish more so than the color and all that other stuff. And there's something about it that, you know, that oscilloscope motion that has something to do with them being attracted to that bait. So what I do here is I don't use a leader on this rod. I just tie right to the braid. And I don't miss too many fish that way. The leader is all right, but sometimes I just want to tie right to the braid, so I just put my worm right on the braid, and it has a different action. You know, it's more free at the end because of the braid. And I don't feel I'm missing any fish that way. If the fish is there, they're already focused on the movement of the bait and stuff like that. Now, if I was in what my water here is murky, so that doesn't matter all that much. If I was in super clear water, you know, I would probably use a lead or maybe even fluorocarbon. It depends. But as a rule, no. That's what I'm using. So there it is. That's what I'm using. And if you feel like making a comment or sharing your stuff, what you're using right now, then feel free to add some comments below, because I would like to know what you're doing. And that always gives people ideas and things like that. We only experiment when we go out. And as you have confidence in a certain setup, which I do, I have confidence in that. And I've caught a lot of fish on these 8-pound line Zepcos where I go. Don't forget, what I'm telling you is I'm going where there's a lot of weeds. So for some people, they'll be like, oh no, I don't want to use a Zepco. I can understand that. They can be kind of annoying sometimes. But they'll take a light bait and cast really far if you have good line on there. And I like the 8-pound smooth cast line. And it goes far. Very far with no weight. So, and you can easily just grab off the line if it's getting too close to something that you don't want it to be. Just grab it and you're done. All right, listen. So there it is. Have a good day and tight lines.